Hey Math 9 students, we are just going to take a look at the last section here in Unit 6, which is section 6.5. We're going to be using multiplication and division here. And so last time we looked at adding and subtracting, and there's just something we want to be aware of when we're multiplying and dividing that makes things a little bit different than working with just an equation when we're working with an inequality. So in this first one, we're supposed to consider the inequality -3 is less than 6, which hopefully we can see that -3 is less than 6. For example, if it's -3 degrees out, that is less than if it was 6 degrees out. Now what we're asked to do here is to do something to both sides, which we've been taught with an equation that if we do the same thing to both sides, we haven't really, or we've retained that equality. So here we're going to see if it works with an inequality. In other words, I'm going to multiply both sides here by -3. So I'm going to go -3 times -3, and I'm going to go 6 times -3. Well, -3 times -3 on my left side, I would end up with 9. 6 times -3 on my right side, I would end up with -18. Is this inequality still true? Well, no. 9 is not less than -18. It's much bigger than -18. If we look at the right side here, it's asking us to do a similar thing except for divide both sides by -3. So I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides of my inequality by -3. -3 divided by -3 would give me 1. 6 divided by -3 would give me -2. And again, is this inequality right? No, it's not. That is false. So our inequality here is no longer true. Get rid of all that, I guess. So a very important note to notice here. When we multiply or divide both sides by a negative number, we have to reverse the inequality sign. Okay? If we're using a positive number, it doesn't really do anything actually. It keeps everything the same. For example, if I were to have taken in this one -3 and is less than 6 and multiplied both sides by 2, well, I would have got -6 is less than 12. That's still true. But the key here is when I'm multiplying or dividing by a negative, I'm just going to highlight something here, multiplying or dividing by a negative, then we have to reverse the inequality sign. In other words, I've got to turn it around. So a couple more examples to look at here. If I want to solve this inequality, well, we want to solve using the same method that we would when we were solving equations. It's just we want to keep in mind one more thing. So if I have my -5s is less than or equal to 25, well, to get s by itself here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both sides by -5. -5s divided by -5 just gives me s. 25 divided by -5 gives me -5. But because we divided by a negative number, what we end up having to do, oops, there's got to be an undo button, there's an eraser. What I need to do is I need to flip that inequality sign. So now, instead of it being a less than or equal to sign, we have a greater than or equal to sign. And so if I were to take a look at this on a number line, what I'm saying here, okay, here's my number line, here's -5, s, and this is going to be a filled in circle, is going to be everything greater than or equal to -5. In other words, -4 could be an acceptable answer. And what I should be able to do is I should be able to take that number and put it in to my original inequality, and it should work out for me. I should also be able to put that into my new inequality where I've solved for s, and it should also be true. So if I go -5, and let's try -4 is less than or equal to 25. -5 times -4 is 20. Is that less than or equal to 25? Yes. And if we tried that same thing with our new inequality, well, is -4 greater than or equal to -5? Yes, it is. So we see that it works for both cases there. Last example here. I don't want to write that big. There you go. Now I've got a little bit more going on, but we know what we want to do is we want to end up getting our variables on one side and our constants on the other side. So what I'm going to do to start here is I'm going to add 2.6a to this side, and I'm going to add 2.6a to this side, which is going to help me move all my variables to the right side. Now, because I was not multiplying or dividing by a negative, I'm going to keep that inequality sign facing the same way. And here we're going to have 4.4a. Okay, my next step then is, well, I've got a -5.2 over here on my right side. I want to get rid of it by adding 5.2, and if I do it to one side, I've got to do it to the other side. So 14.6 plus 5.2 is going to give me 19.8, which should be greater than my 4.4a. And then my last step is going to be to divide by that 4.4. Now just be careful here. Dividing by a positive, we don't have to change that sign. It's only when we're multiplying or dividing by a negative. And so if I take my 19.8 and I divide it by my 4.4, I'm going to get, it doesn't sound right, 19.8 divided by 4.4, I'm going to get 4.5 on this side, and 4.5 is going to be greater than my a. Now when we say verify, what that means is I need to pick a number where a is less than 4.5, put it in, and it should work out for me. So let's go -2.6 and a number smaller than 4.5. Well, let's go with 0. And we go plus 14.6. That should be greater than -5.2 plus 1.8 times 0. Well, -2.6 times 0 is 0, so on this side I'm just left with 14.6, and on this side I'm just left with -5.2, and 14.6 is greater than -5.2, so that one works out for us. Well, there I found the undo button. What you should take a peek at here are those questions from your textbook. Once you're finished them, there's a practice test on page 310 that you could use as a review for this unit.